If God became a man, then what would he be like? I have devised the following list of logical things a person would expect if Yahweh were to become a man. A. Have an unusual entrance to life. B. Have an unusual exit to life. C. Possess supernatural powers. D. Speak the greatest things ever spoken. E. Be very unusual from others. F. Be without sin. G. Have a great influence on the whole world. H. Have a theological understanding beyond that of ordinary men. I. Possess power over death. J. Fulfill a number of prophecies. K. Be Jewish. L. Be the Messiah. Do you agree that these seem logical? Does Jesus live up to the logical expectations that I have set forth here? I shall discuss the points one by one. A. Have an unusual entrance to life. If we would answer this question, then the whole debate would be over. No one can say if the virgin birth is true without accepting the testimony of the New Testament. This is addressed in the New Testament, however, and therefore is part of my overall statement that the New Testament accurately depicts what God would be like if he were a man without contradicting the Old Testament. I have also explained elsewhere that the extra-biblical accounts are not contradictory to the virgin birth, but the accounts are exactly what one would expect if the event had happened. B. Have an unusual exit to life. Crucifixion is a very unusual exit to life. It wasn't known to the authors of the Old Testament. However, forms of the word pierce occur very prominently throughout the text. We know more about the details of the death of Jesus than the death of any other person in antiquity. The substitutionary principle of Jesus is by itself in theology. The darkness when he died has been confirmed by non-Christian eyewitnesses. C. Possess supernatural powers. There are reports of Jesus' supernatural powers or miracles reported by Romans, Jews, and Christians. How many people have been able to convince opposition groups that they have supernatural powers? Not any I can think of. D. Speak the greatest things ever spoken. This point is subjective, but try and think of another who has spoken greater things. Not many people have had their words last as long as Jesus. The Bible is the #1 bestseller year after year in language after language. People quote or paraphrase Jesus even if they're not religious. E. Be very unusual from others. Think of all that Jesus accomplished in the 3 years of his ministry, and this without doing anything that a person does to be regarded as great. Jesus was different from other men in the authority that he taught and the manner in which he lived. Jesus is the most famous and popular person in history. F. Be without sin. There was a written testimony in the New Testament that Jesus never sinned, and no one has ever said that they were an eyewitness to a sin he committed. I couldn't have performed this same feat, could you? G. Have a great influence on the whole world. When atheists bang their feet against the coffee table, they swear by saying Jesus' name or God's name. They might not admit it, but does this not show that they have been influenced in some small way by Jesus? Many famous people regularly put down their Christian religion. Doesn't this show that the Christian religion is indeed a standard by which culture is measured? The Christian church is the largest church in the world. H. Have a theological understanding beyond that of ordinary men. There have been those who have said that Jesus was a Pharisee, and then make a list of similar theologies to back up their thinking. There are those who have identified Jesus with the Sadducees because of other similarities. Lastly, there are those who identify Jesus with the Essenes because of other similarities. In any school of theology, there will be a line of thinking. In this line of thinking, there will be valid and invalid points based upon the point of view of the people who devised them. Therefore, if God were to become a man, he would be able to out-reason others, as the New Testament shows Jesus doing, and he would find points of similarities and differences with all the theological groups. We have a tendency in life to project our reasoning onto others. In the book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, the author shows us this fallacy by using the example of women's versus men's perspectives. I don't think that you would get someone who would have the range of theological debate that Jesus had unless he had a miraculous power to see beyond a singular point of view. I. Possess power over death. Jesus fulfilled this a number of times. He raised at least 3 people from the dead and himself. The most amazing thing about this is the historical evidence for his own raising from the dead. The lives of his disciples were changed after his death. There were numerous reports of sightings after his death. J. Fulfill a number of prophecies. Jesus claimed to be the Word of God, so there is an expectation that there should be many double meanings in symbolic passages. This is covered in greater detail in my chapter, Symbolic Verses and Double Meanings. As you have read, there are numerous prophecies fulfilled in Jesus, several that only Jesus could have fulfilled. K. Be Jewish. Not only is Jesus Jewish, he is the most famous son of Abraham, transcending time, language, and culture in this identity. L. Be the Messiah. Midrash Telahim on Psalm 21:1. God calls King Messiah by his own name. But what is his name? Answer: Jehovah is a man of war. From Exodus 15:3. Eka Rabbathi on Lamentations 1:16. What is the name of Messiah? Rabbi Abba ben Bahana has said, Jehovah is his name, and this is proved by, this is his name. Jeremiah 23:6. And I end with a quote from Thomas Schultz. Not one recognized leader, not Moses, Paul, Buddha, Muhammad, Confucius, etc., has ever claimed to be God. That is, with the exception of Jesus Christ. Christ is the only religious leader who has ever claimed to be deity, and the only individual ever who has convinced a great portion of the world that he is God. This is not exactly true. Kings have claimed to be gods before, but after the end of their political influence, this is disregarded. Jesus is the only person to found a major religion while not having political influence. This book is available to download in its entirety for free at smashwords.com and eventually here on YouTube. If you want to hear more, subscribe to this channel. God bless.